connection, and you get a system after deploying Hadoop, which can allow you to store data and analyze data. And you can do other things too, which I'll not get into. Then compared to distributed systems, there are database systems which have been traditionally used. There is a central repository for the data, and the data is in relational format, following the normalization rules, and that will be used for getting data sets and use cases and analyzing and presenting as mashups. So once you have a distributed system or a database system, an example for a database system is Postgres, which you can just get off this from some website, and you can install it and start using it. And Postgres is pretty good for large amounts of data. It is pretty scalable and very well performant. In the open source domain, it is the best database. The other databases would be MySQL and related databases. There is a Derby related to Java. There is some PyTables related to Python. It's up to you. So once you have a distributed system and a database system, you have your data and a working environment. And once you have this environment, then you start doing the analytics. And for that, you have techniques in machine learning and computational statistics. So machine learning is basically algorithmic. And computational statistics are applicable in a computing system.
Sriharsha, you have to be louder.
Yeah. The
Anish,
output of machine learning. Yeah. Yes.
You have to be a little louder.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying there is a distributed system and a database system which you have set up, commodity hardware, and on that you want to do some machine learning. That is, you want to run some algorithms. And once you get the output of these algorithms, you want to validate the output using statistics. So you have to refer resources related to machine learning and computational statistics. Once you do this, you are good. You are in a good shape about data analytics. If you still want to explore more, you have to get into the theoretical aspects of computer science. Examples for that would be probability theory and information theory. So all these subjects of data science are useful for you to build a data architecture and do some analytics out of it. And if you see the link for this cross-industry standard process for data mining, that is a analytics process standardly used across various verticals. It basically describes what I have already described to you in a pictorial form. So you can go see the link and see some documentation on that and try to implement that in your projects. And once you have an analytics system working, if you want to explain this system to somebody else, maybe a technical user or a non-technical user, you want to compare, you want to evaluate the need for having data analytics. And I thought there are two rules of thumb which you can use. One is run some queries on the data. So run some SQL queries or some OLAP queries and see the output and see what you are guessing from the data and see if you can give the solution. If that is not sufficient, then you need algorithms. This is one rule of thumb to explain your results to somebody else. Another rule of thumb is if you are a programmer, you write the code in some programming language following its syntax. So you follow all the rules of the syntax, you build a data structure, you do some algorithms on that. But then do you get any meaning out of it? Ask yourself that question. So you have a database, you have a working environment, you are writing some program. Can you get some meaning out of this program? in a real world setting. So we can look at examples later on based on each data set. So you evaluate your program in terms of semantics. This is another rule of thumb. You explain your results to a non-technical user. So what I find with many people is people associate analytics with queries, and specifically data warehouse queries. But with OLAP or data warehousing, what you can do is do a slice and dice on the data, and you already have a hypothesis that you already know that some value which you are checking is expected to be in this range, in this region, in this month, so on. So you already have an idea about what you are looking for, and you run some queries on the data to confirm or reject your idea. So for such queries, OLAP is useful. But suppose you want to find out all possible ideas which can be found from the data, then you need data mining. So this is a distinction which I think will be of interest to many people, because people tend to think of data mining as OLAP. Whereas data mining is actually knowledge discovery, in the sense that because the So because data is you put in a lot of effort and investment into collecting the data, you want to do as much of analysis as possible, not just guess something which you already know about the data and confirm or reject it. And to do as much analysis as possible, you want to find out things which you didn't know existed in the data. So some kind of trending. So to do those trending, data mining will be useful. And this process is called knowledge discovery in databases. You can follow the CRISP-DM process model for that, and to build a data architecture. And you can also refer all those data science techniques and see what you are comfortable with. And this should put you on a good footing as far as data analytics goes, even for big data. So moving on, so once you have this context in mind, what's that? Yeah, so once you have this context in mind, how do you build a system? How do you actually use all these tools like Weka in your architecture? For that, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. You already know about business model, but ask yourself 3 questions about data model, concept model, and compute model. So simply speaking, data model is the different scenarios which can be found from the data sets and use cases from the database. The concept model is how do you map your thought process to those use cases. And the compute model is what computations are available to do that. So in database terminology, you need to look at data, metadata, functional dependencies, and try to model these according to some probability assumptions or some data mining algorithms, and then try to come up with some output which is fitting with your thought process onto the data, and then check the error in the output. So this is in terms of data engineering, database systems terminology. A similar model can be found in distributed systems terminology also, which I have not given in this slide. So once you have the data model, concept model, you know the functional dependencies in the data, then to select compute model, look at the attributes in the data. Look at those names, look at the values, look at the structure in the data in terms of metadata, that is description about the data. Then run some queries on this data. And this will allow you to define what are called features in data mining. And once you have features, run some clustering on that. This will allow you to group the data into partitions. and give labels to those groups. These labels will have some semantic meaning. And this itself should be enough for data exploration. If you want to do complicated things like regression, then try to define constraints on the data, on the features, and try to estimate parameters according to those constraints. And try to deploy it in your distributed system or database system according to existing protocols, like RPC protocol. And this will give you a compute model. Once you have answered questions related to data model, concept model, compute model, you can do different kinds of analytics according to the input data. So, which is what I listed as data science specializations. So you can do web analytics on web data, text analytics. Sentiment analytics is more like social media data analysis. You can do image analytics, graph analytics. Predictive analytics is more talking about the future. Risk analytics is you want to decide the financial risk or something in your transaction and try to quantify that algorithmically. So these are the different applications which are possible once you set up your analytics system. Now till here I have talked in a generic manner. I have talked more from a computer science background. But if you want to talk from a programming IT background, then the different data science stacks which are available to do all this are Hadoop stack, everybody knows about it. There is R stack for specialized for statistical analysis. There is SciPy stack, which is a Python stack. And then there are research stacks like Weka, and then many more. We can send a list of all these components to the HDSG website. And research stack is more useful for very specialized kind of algorithms. So suppose you have run association rule mining and you want to see what are the different possible association rule mining algorithms available. Then there are specialized API which are there only for association rule mining. Similarly, you have specialized API only for clustering. So Weka is a specialized API for classification. So depending on the data mining which you have done, if you want to explore more, there are some research stacks which are available, whose functionality is not available in Hadoop or R. Is by tick stack. So I thought that was pretty interesting and easy to use. So I thought I'll let you know. So you can go to the website of Berkeley University. I think the lab is AmpLab, and you can see about BDAS stack. And so all these stacks are all open source stacks. You can readily use all these things immediately. You don't have to buy any license, spend any money. The only thing is you need to know all these computer science concepts and you are ready to go. But for specialized business scenarios, commercial stacks have been made available by different vendors like IBM, SAP, and so on, which is what people tend to use in companies, because if they get a problem, there is support available from the vendor. But if you build in-house IT using open source technologies, you are sure to get whatever feature set is given by the vendor and much more, which is used by researchers all over the world. Of course, the decision about what kind of features are really needed in your project is up to you. So these stacks have already been used in the real world, because we also said we'll talk about some applications and use cases. They've already been used in the real world, and I list some applications here. I'll just read them out. Customer segmentation, targeted marketing, fraud detection, healthcare applications, and market basket analysis. So just go, after this session, just go to the internet, search for market basket analysis. You'll get a lot of tutorials. See what kind of tools and what kind of techniques have been used, and see whether you can use it in your project. As Surya said, we want to do a hackathon afterwards, where we will try to find real world data in India context, and you can work on that with all these techniques and all these tools and try to come up with some value addition. So this was a general background about how to build an analytics system, and specifically related to cloud data or big data. Now we'll get into Veka. I'll give a short introduction to Veka, run you through some programs, and my colleague Harsha here will take over the demo. So Veka stands for Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis. That's the full form for Veka. Waikato is a university in New Zealand, and Veka has been used by research groups all over the world for a long time now. It is also available in the business intelligence product Pentaho. Pentaho gives you ability to do OLTP and OLAP, and the data mining part is done by Veka. Veka is an open source project implemented in Java. You can get the source code, see the internals of the algorithms, or you can just see the Veka Java docs and try to use those algorithms in your Java code. It is available in the University of Waikato website. So we thought we will just give you an overview about the different interfaces to Veka. So how do you run Veka? That's what we want to address in the tutorial. The simplest possible interface to Veka is through a terminal, command line interface. You can just run. There is a jar file in the Veka directory. We'll show you the directory and how to import it in Eclipse and run some programs. There is a jar file in the directory, and you can just run the jar file using JDK tools and execute different algorithms by setting their parameters on different kinds of data and see the output. Validating the output is another matter. Just running and getting something, you'll get something, but validating the output, mapping it to your business case is the next step. So you can just download Veka, run the jar file through a terminal.
Anish,
Yeah.
can you go a little slow while, as to how to install Veka, and then show them clearly what they need, what the participants need to do, how to use, and, show us a couple of examples. Just go slow while doing those so that people can follow.
Sure, sorry. I'll take care that they understand how to download and install and sample data and those things.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a couple
so
of
Harsha
examples.
Yeah, definitely. That I'll take.
Yeah, Harsha will do the demo. I am giving a description about Veka and show you some code.
Okay.
After that, Harsha will take the demo.
Okay.
So you have command line interface to Veka through a terminal. Then you also have a graphical user interface. So whatever you do through a terminal, you can also do the same thing by pressing some buttons. But then again, you need to know what the output means in terms of data mining, and we'll show you how to do that. And if you want to do more extensive data mining using Veka, you need to write Java code, which will import Veka as a library, like any other Java library, and instantiate the different objects of Veka, and process the data and store the output in files. So I thought I'll just show you some code before I hand over the demo to Harsha. The code will be a typical Java application. So these are the different interfaces to Veka, how you can use Veka. And the input and output for the Veka is basically a text file. But the text has to be in CSV format or what is called ARF format. ARF is a native Veka format. CSV is comma separated values. If you have your data in a database, you can use JDBC. C4.5 and binary are formats which certain algorithms use. So basically you want to format your data in either a database, access it through JDBC, or format the data in CSV format and add some headers to it which will make it an ARF file. I'll show you some ARF files later. So you have some text data, you have a terminal or some user interface on which you are running some algorithms. Now the question arises, what kinds of algorithms you can run? And the different kind, Veka is basically suitable for what is called feature selection and supervised learning in machine learning. So if you don't know about those terms, don't worry about it. Just try to understand what you can, and the rest of it, there's a lot of documentation available on the internet. So once you have data, you want to in any data mining system, and using any stack, if you want to use those ideas which I covered before, you want to first prepare the data. You can't directly use raw data which you find from the field. So to prepare the data, there are certain Java classes available in Weka. Specifically, filters are very commonly used, which do data transformation. Loaders and savers get data into memory and store data from memory onto disk. Stemmers are used in text mining. So once you prepare the data using these classes, you want to run some algorithms on these data, and in Weka the algorithms are divided into according to data mining tasks. And the data mining tasks are classification, regression, clustering, association rules, and visualization. This is what is available from a data mining standpoint in Weka. So this is what a programmer would look at in Weka. But a user would look at what is called Explorer, Experimenter, and Knowledge Flow, the different interfaces, graphical user interfaces to Weka. Explorer is the most commonly used interface. And Explorer allows you to do all those programming techniques through a graphical user interface. And those techniques are all, they are all repetition of what I have already discussed: pre-process, classification, clustering, and so on. So with what we show you today, you can use the Explorer and you can write some Java code. But what is interesting about these things is, in terms of at least computer science, is what is called functional programming, parallel programming, which I'll not get into. I just thought I'll just let you know about it. We can, for example, take this up in the hackathon or so on. So moving on. We thought we'll just show you some techniques such as what has been listed here to explore the data on Iris dataset, which is a classic dataset. And the techniques are decision trees, k-nearest neighbors, logistic regression, and show some visualization of the output. But then after doing this, you can try out more advanced techniques such as bagging, boosting, so on. And once you try out something, and once we try out something, we want to evaluate what that means in our technical architecture. And in data mining terms, the evaluation is done with either cross-validation or learning curves or statistical significance testing. So again, these are all very technical terms, but then you have to have your algorithm working according to these evaluation techniques. Only then you can use it in a real-world project. So this completes my presentation. I'll just run you through some code before handing over to Harsha. We'll also upload this presentation on the HDSG website. So just to show you, there are many more tutorials about Weka or big data analytics or data mining or machine learning on the internet. I just went through some websites and compiled a list here. So you have what is called Weka book, written by the authors of the Weka software. You can just go through the book and it will give you everything you need about the implementation, about the algorithms and how to use Weka, what are the different documentations available for it, tutorials which you can find, how to use Weka Java docs, and so on. There is also open courseware material available both from Waikato University and other universities, which you can go through and see how machine learning can be used. What we are covering today is the core package of Weka. There are many more packages of Weka. Depending on your interest, you can go through the SourceForge site where a lot of Weka packages are available and install that along with the core package and use those jar files. Here's a list of more tutorials from Weka site, IBM site, our site. So you can find them on your own. You can see these things and see how to use it in a real world data. So this completes the presentation, and So this is an example for Weka code. So if
Just before Anish, sorry for interrupting. There are a few questions that I would like you to answer before we get on to the tutorial session. Okay.
yeah,
So there is a question from Leela Krishna who says, "Can you share more details about stacks? What do they contain?" Okay. So I think Leela, I would answer this question myself. In relation with the stacks, they are not at a single location. Okay, the analytics is a quite a vast area. We are going to share you the presentation done by Anish, so you can go and dig little deeper on Google, and you will get enough information, because it cannot be ready-madely available. Somebody has to work on it, right? So that answers your question. The second thing I have in my mind, Anish, is why would anybody want to use Weka, whereas we have fantastic tools like R that are already available. I do understand that IIIT, you use Weka extensively, but why would anybody wants to use the seemingly scary Weka as opposed to very user-friendly R?
actually, R is best for statistics. R does not have all capabilities required for machine learning. And whatever R shows for classification is from Weka. There is R Weka, and only those things are used in R. So as far as feature selection, filtering, preparing the data is concerned, and using classification algorithms on data is concerned, Weka is useful. Weka is more like a research project, whereas R is a statistical project having wide feature sets and a lot of very nice graphics. But Weka is specialized to classification algorithms, and it is very good for preparing the data, which may be available in R, but at least in terms of preparing data for data mining, I find that Weka is better than R.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
No, I think the very use of Java is a little turn off for a lot of people who wants to use these tools to solve real business problems, right? The moment you see a lot of coding being done, then it takes the what do you say, the analysis from the analyst to the programmer, right? And it becomes extremely hard for the tool to make any impact in a business world. Okay, that's where I am asking the question from. Anyway, but we will rest the question because we will not be able to answer that question at this time.
Yes. So any other questions?
Any other question from participants? I think we will have to answer now, and then we will move on to the demo. Yes, Sunil, go ahead. Yeah. If there are no questions, then we will move on. Yeah. Yeah. There is another question from Kiran. Okay. Does the Weka exploration tool is interactive in nature for data mining?
Yes.
Anish and Sriharsha.
Yeah, it is useful for interactive data mining. That's the idea. You can write code. You can also do interactive through a user interface.
Yeah, actually in R what happens is there is a R scripting that you do, right? And there is also a CLI interface where you will be able to do interactive exploration of the data frame, right? So
Yes.
what is the environment like in Veka? That seems to be the question.
It's the same as in R. Instead of writing it in the R language, you write it in Java, and instead of executing, and you can execute it in a normal shell, which is what
Okay.
is used in.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's move on to the demo and then we'll take it forward.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm showing you some code. that has been written in
स्लिप
Veka.
अवेलेबल आहे ते करून टाकू का सेटिंग म्हणतो म्हणजे मिळून त्याच्यामध्ये
Yeah. So as you can see here.
Hey, Anish, hold on just a second. If you can open your questions section, there are a few questions that are asked by the participants. You may want to answer them as you go along.
I basically find balancing between database and analytics, which is mainly database is used for query processing, whereas analytics is used for hypothesis testing. So as I have described before, if you have some idea about the data and you want to confirm or reject that idea, then you can do database query processing using OLAP or OLAP system. But if you want to find out all possible ideas which can be found in data, then you need a business intelligence system which uses one of these analytics tools.
Okay, Anish, there are a couple. Anish, there are a couple of other questions. Okay, this one is from Prashant Nilayam. Okay, he is asking Excel Miner has a limit of 100 columns while computing association rules. Does Veka 2 have any limitations in terms of compute?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
I don't think so.
Surya, it's like it depends on the algorithm he's trying to implement. Like few problems in association rule may NP hard problem or NP complete problems, which take huge amount of time. So
no, see the question is it's a open-ended question, right? See, for example, if is there any compute limitations not based on the infrastructure but based on the tool itself? That's the question.
I don't think so. At least for association rules, I don't think so.
Okay. See, for example, if you take R, correct? There is definitely a limitation of memory, right, in terms of the data set that is given. But it is not a problem of R per se. It is a problem of the infrastructure, correct? So that is the reason why we have R Hadoop and R Hype and R streaming, correct? So similarly, is there a limitation of tool limitation of Veka on working with any data set? The size of the data set will the
As long as data is available in memory, there should not be a problem.
Okay, so another question is Veka in NIME different from this Veka?
There is only one Veka, whichever product it is used in.
Okay, NIME also uses Veka. Is that what you mean?
I haven't used NIME,
no,
but
underlying background is same.
I have used Pentaho. In Pentaho, Veka is the same.
Okay, so in what ways Veka better than Python is another question Pankaj Chabra was asking.
This is a general question. It is like saying in what ways Java is better than Python.
Okay.
Basically, you should, rather than the programming language, see what are the data mining algorithms which are available in SciPy or Veka and see what are you comfortable with and use it.
So to answer this question, let me put this answer this way or rephrase it this way. So the tool sets are available. For example, if you take analytic systems, we have R system, we have systems with Python, we have systems with Veka, right? And everything comes up with its own programming style. readily available packages. So depending on the current nature of analytics ecosystem that you have in your company, you pick and choose what fits your architecture the best, correct? And your skill sets the best.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can. I think we can start. We can start answering the questions after you're done with the demo.
Yeah, sounds good. So here I have highlighted the libraries which I have imported into the Java program. It is you can. I'll share this code, or you can see some tutorials. But the idea here is there are all these different kinds of Java objects available in Weka, and you want to use this to load the data, process the data, and store the data. So what I do here in this program is use a lot of filters, and those filters are coming from the Weka library, weka.filters. I'll just show you how to use a filter, how to load data, the Java statements to load data, and use a filter on it. And then I'll show you the input and output R files. So this is how you load CSV data. So you have what is called a loader specific to CSV, a CSV loader. This takes some options, which are basically some formatting options about the input, and you set the input file which has to be loaded using this loader, using loader.setSource, and then do a loader.getDataSet. So these are all basically setter and getter methods in loader object, and you get the data into the instances object, and all processing is done on instances. So this is how you would load data, and this is how you would run Java data mining object in Weka. So here I do discretization, and if you see unset class temporarily, R first and last are all options to the discretization filter, and the filter is initialized using Weka filters unsupervised attribute pkid discretize. So you need to go till that level in the hierarchy in the Java docs, instantiate that object, and then set options for, do some setter getter methods on that, set options for that, set input for that, and then run this filter.useFilter on your data, which was the instances data which we loaded before, and then you get bunch of more instances which are the filtered output. So what I've done here is stored these instances in a file. I'll show you those files. So this is the original file. There are 6 attributes and there are many records. This has been loaded into Weka using CSV loader, and this is the output of Weka. This is a R file. There is a header to this R file which describes the data types of those attributes, and the number of attributes here is more than what was input. So after some data transformation, extra attributes have come up. And there is a class attribute which is used in supervised learning. This class attribute is an enumeration. It takes different values which are listed here. This is the header for the Weka file. The name of this file, this is a Weka relation. The name of this relation is given after @ relation keyword. So after the header you have data in Weka, and here the data is all binary data. So I have converted all the CSV numeric data into binary data, except for class label. And this such data is the input which Weka algorithms or data mining algorithms even in R or Python expect. So you want to first do all the data collection, data storage, and data preparation until input is in such format. So if you see one line here in the input, the first record, it has bunch of zeros and ones, and wherever ones are set, we are interested in that. Zeros being set means those values are not appearing. And when all these ones occur, you have this class label. Now from here you want to get data, metadata, functional dependencies and error analysis. So here I have more such examples, example files where there is again a header and a data. So if you see this file, the number of attributes is less than the previous file. If you see this file, the class label is the same. So all this was done using Weka filters. So I think that's about it. I have described some Weka code, how to run filters, and Weka R files, input and output. And as you can see, there are half a dozen R files here, which were output of half a dozen filters, which are imported in the Java code. So now I'll give the presentation to Harsha, who will give the demo about how to install and use Weka through a graphical user interface. And after that, we'll take some questions. So that's about it from me.
Yeah, good morning everyone. I'm Sriharsha. I want this to be little interactive. More than me explaining everything, it could be like anyone who has a question could stop me anywhere. And don't worry, I'll be very informal kind of a thing. It would be very easy. Don't be scared with Anish's presentation, okay? So we'll start with like this is my reason for giving a demo on Weka. I really use Weka for a lot of my research projects. Like Surya asked me like why to use Weka. Weka is more on the Java philosophy. If we see R and Weka, both started in 1993. Weka took the Java way, and it has a good user community. If you post a question, you will get answers really fast. And then, so this is how I would be giving you demo, like this text, and I've used few slides from other people, and then I'll show you simple code. It's not very complicated, and we'll work on a simple dataset called Iris. Like Iris, you could type Iris in the UCI ML dataset. Like everyone, Surya, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so I'm explaining the Iris dataset initially. We should understand the dataset before we start anything, right?
Yeah. So, actually, just not just the Iris dataset. If you can go to the UCI and show what other datasets are there, that will help me in the coming presentation. Yeah. Go there.
Definitely. So generally there are many benchmark datasets available online. So UCI is a college wherein they will provide a good repository of datasets. Now I'm showing you the web page of UCI ML. It's a very standard repository wherein if you are trying to learn data mining or if you are trying to use multiple tools, I would prefer UCI ML. These are the benchmark datasets. So there are about 273 real world datasets in UCI ML. And apart from, these are all small scale datasets. These all fit into your 4 GB RAM system or 8 GB RAM system. So if anybody is interested in going for a real world, a major project kind of a thing, then there are Stanford datasets. Stanford University has large scale graph datasets which would scale you like, they would all require NP-hard problems to be solved. So I would for my objective here is giving an explanation, understanding of Weka. So we'll stick to a very small data set and then understand how Weka could be used to get some insights from the data. So in UCI ML dataset, I'm taking the Iris datasets, which is pretty common. So if anybody is taking a course in data mining, this would be a very beginning step. in this, the things are like this. The data set contains information about flowers. So in layman terms, let's say we want to given features about a flower. The features could be the color of the flower, or the sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and all those things which are covered in the data set. So if these are what I have, I should come up my data mining system or the intelligence system. Like if I see the flower, I could easily tell that this is rose. But how to do the same thing from a system perspective? Given few features of a flower as a record or a tuple, the system should tell whether this is a rose flower or a jasmine flower. So this is a very simple scenario. We could use the same thing for very advanced things, like if people are using iPhone 5s, the speech which we talk, like like I'm telling hi Siri, from hi Siri features are extracted and they are converted into tuple, and this tuple is sent into the algorithm. So similarly, in our iris data set, we have features about the flower, and we use these features, build a mathematical model which we call the algorithm, and then come up with test cases, like given these features, whether this is jasmine, this is rose, kind of a thing. So I'll be more beginner friendly. So I'll explain things from layman terms and then see how we could use Weka and understand these things. So I'd be using already slides which are available online, which are very good. So people can actually search for these slides. I'll email these things also. Yeah. So it's around 18 years old. Weka is from last 18 years old. The community is very good, vibrant. So the mailing list is very good. If you have any question, the new algorithms are implemented in a span of like 3 to 4 months. So these are the commercial products apart from Weka, commercial and non-commercial products. I'll email these slides. Don't worry about all those things. So in 2005, Weka got an award from ACM SIGKDD. SIGKDD is Special Interest Group on Knowledge Discovery from Databases. It's a very pioneer database community. So these are the key features. Like it has many different and state-of-the-art algorithms already implemented. It is open source and freely available, similar to R. It is platform independent, as in terms of code, because it is completely developed from Java perspective. It is easy, and if people are slightly comfortable with core Java, they could do a lot of things from Weka, not worrying about underlying algorithms. The parameter tuning and all those things which I'll show you are very easily done if you understand basic core Java. Few for loops would be sufficient. As I've already told you, it's up to date. So this is the website where people should go. Like you could Google for Weka, in Google type Weka. I would like people to start working as of like they could go to the web page, Google and Weka. And then this is the page which opens wherein they could download the software. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I have no objection with I would like this to be an interactive session kind of a thing. So the current version is 3.7, which would use Java 1.6 or Java 1.7 as the background. These are the two guys who created the Weka software from 1993, and they are still now actively participating in it. The next version of Weka is called MOA, Massive Online Analytics, which would deal with huge amounts of data, terabytes of data. So like Anish already covered, like these are the fundamental things which one should be familiar, like data, how we go about data pre-processing and visualization, attribute selection, classification, prediction, model evaluation, clustering, association rules. This kind of is the umbrella for data mining vocabulary. So we'll start with iris data set. Suraj, you're able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is the iris data set. Like it's a standard format of seeing things. Like
no, actually,
is
this
let's say 5.1.
Sriharsha, is this a CLI? Is it a interactive mode, or you
No,
say,
I've not yet got. No, I've not yet got. This is just data. We'll just start with what data is and how it
okay,
is represented,
this is the data set.
and then
Okay,
we'll go about.
okay.
Yeah, this is the data set. Like for people's convenience, I'll open this in the Excel and we could understand it more clearly. So I have 4 attributes for 4 features. Like we could think of it in a very simple terms, layman terms. Like I have a rose flower here. I have captured few features which would tell a sepal length, sepal width, petal width. I could take the scale and go about it. And then I have 3 classes. That means I have three different kinds of flowers which I need to study or understand or learn. One is represented with 0, other is represented with 1, and a third one is represented with 2. So my general scenario is, given these 4 features, like which I've highlighted, the model should come up with telling that this is the rose flower. That is the end objective of a data mining system. Given features, it should be able to get some knowledge out of it. So this CSV format is converted into a ARC format, which you have already many systems like which would already do it. And once we have the ARC format of the data, and once you install Weka, this is Weka 3.7. So this is how it will look like. This is the Weka Explorer. Surya, you're able to see, right? Yeah. So A1, A2, A3, A4 are the 4 attributes which I have, and this is the visualization that Weka gives. It's very simple to understand. This is about the data statistics which is already there. A1, A2, A3, A4 are the attributes which I have. The minimum range is 4.3 for A1 and 7.9. This I need not write code for all these things. These are very simple, and with a click of a button I get all the statistics of the data. And then I have the class attribute. So I have generally 3 classes. Since this is a simple data set, there is no rare class problem. So all classes are of equal probability, or equal number of instances are there for all classes. So blue could be one type of the flower, red could be another type of the flower, and the other color is another type of the flower. So in here, in the Weka Explorer, when you open the ARC file, you could download the ARC file easily from internet. And then these are the filters. Filters are in a simple term like playing with the data. Like I want to remove this particular column, or I want to normalize this particular column, or I would like to have instances which fall in this particular range, or I would like to make the numeric attribute into nominal attribute, discretize the data. We'll see into all those things. Like
see, basically, 1 second, Sriharsha. This is like doing 2 things at a time. One is data subsetting, what we call, the first one is the data frames that we are used to in R, and the data subsetting as well, right?
Okay.
And the third one, we call it as data wrangling. So, so that you can transform the data from, the categorical to quantitative data, etc., etc. That seems to be done at one shot here. In a
yes, and yes, in the GUI format, yes.
In a GUI format.
Yes.
That is the pre-process. And what happens if you go to classify and cluster and associate? Can you show me those tabs?
Definitely. I'll just walk through with the filtering first. Filtering,
yeah.
It's just very simple. So in the filtering, there could be like supervised filtering and unsupervised filtering. My assumption here is that people understand what supervised is and unsupervised is. And even we could see at the flexibility that Weka provides. Even in both the supervised and unsupervised, we could do the pre-processing from attribute perspective or the instance perspective. The row here is, the tuple is called an instance in Weka. It's just a standard vocabulary they follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I could either work from the attributes level only or the rows level only, both in supervised case and unsupervised case, which is very good. Like I could discretize the data. See, discretization is like I have a numeric attribute here for attribute A1. So let's say I'm working on a priori or frequent pattern FP growth algorithm, which is a very famous algorithm. For that, the data is to be in Boolean format. Either this thing is present or not present. So when I try to run that particular algorithm, I would need data in one particular setting, or a data is to be transformed from a numeric attribute space to a Boolean attribute space. All those things are very easily done using the Weka filters. So these are the attributes. Let's say I want to make a clustering data. I want to make an unlabeled data to a. I would like to assign the class attribute. I could do it in one stroke. Like I'll say like, wait 1 second. Attribute class assign. So these are the standard set of algorithms which are implemented. Normalizing the data, which is very good to do, or a very good practice. To normalize the data, build the model, and you analyze the output, or randomize the input space. If it's not a time series data where ordering is not important, or we are trying to cross-validate things on multiple subsets of data, we need randomized subsets. That could be done with a single stroke here. Or I would like only 100 instances. So I remove the range. So totally I have 150 instances, which is, and 5 attributes. I would work with, let's say, only 10 attributes, or only 10 instances at a time. So in here I would put in 1 to 10, and all the other instances are removed. So this is how filters work. There are a wide variety of filters. If people download Weka, they could go through a lot of things. People could take up this as an assignment kind of a thing. So open Weka, open a small data set, go to this non-sparse to sparse thing, read about it. It's how you could improve your data mining skills also. How data could be transformed, in what ways data could be transformed. So these are state of the art and implemented very nicely. If I would show the Weka code also, but don't get scared, it's just open source data, open source code. So this covers my basic explanation of filters. So I apply the filter and I save the file into a different app file. This is the first frame which I get to it. So whenever there is data, my simple suggestion would be spend some time with the first frame, understand what the data is, understand the minimum, maximum, standard deviation of all the numeric attributes, do a basic correlation analysis kind of a thing, remove redundant attributes. All these things have standard algorithms in select attributes thing. So the second module of Weka would be classification algorithms, for which Weka is very famous. So this is the classify tab. So I have this is a 3-class problem. In data mining vocabulary, this is a 3-class problem. The number of distinct classes I have are 3. So in the 3-class problem, I could go about running so many algorithms that are already there. All the algorithms which are under Bayes category are probabilistic classifiers. Lazy are prediction models, which doesn't require a model to be built, but given a test case, based on the test case, the classification output is given. These are called lazy learners. People would be familiar with KNN, K nearest neighbors, which is a lazy learner algorithm. Meta learning, we have so many meta learning algorithms. The rich subset of algorithms here. Next, trees, we have decision trees, all kinds of decision trees from ID3, ID 4.5 and J48 trees. We have every algorithm implemented in here. So let's suppose that I'm using J48 decision tree, and once I select what algorithm to use based on my understanding of the algorithm, there are parameters for each tree or each algorithm. So for J48, there are 2 parameters, C and M. C stands for confidence factor. So in the frame, I just tap on the tap where there are parameters with my mouse. I get this screen wherein I could tune in a lot of parameters. So the confidence factor is the confidence factor is 0.25 here. That I could make 0.5, which would tell that I would like to have a more general kind of a thing wherein if even at the leaf node, if it's 50% of both the classes, I appreciate it. That you could go into details of each algorithm in a more precise way, but this is how you tune the parameters. So minimum number of objects for constructing of trees, 2, number of folds, Number of folds is number of cross validation sets it will build and then give a more robust model. So if I set it to 10, I would get a 10 cross validated 10-fold model, which would be more robust or more general. So for any algorithm, you could run with take a very simple data set. I would suggest Iris only, and then play with the basic pre-processing classification things. So this is how you go about tuning things. So I click here as start. I get a classifier output on the right side of the pane. So for the Weka, I would start with showing you the visualization first.
Wow.
So this is how my Iris data would look like in a classification perspective. So it is telling me that if the attribute A4 is less than 0.6, it is definitely belongs to class 0 and 50 of them are present like that. This is the basic insight we get. Like if attribute A4 is less than 0.6, I get 50 instances which are of class 0. If it's greater than 0.6, then A4, this is how the tree look like. If you go from root to leaf, you understand what all attributes and attribute predicate values are important. This is why J48 decision trees decision trees are very famous. These are very, very intuitive. Unlike SVMs or more complicated algorithms. So the J48 decision trees are very simple. Like if the data is simple and if you run a decision tree, the root to leaf will give you a very clear understanding of the data. This is one insight I get from the data. So if I manually sit and see 150 instances, I would never come up with, or my limited mind would never come up with A4 greater than 0.6, A4 less than 0.7, 1.7, and not lead to this particular conclusion. So this concludes my basic explanation of how you set in parameters for standard algorithms. If I want to implement SVM, it's in functions libsvm. I could run libsvm. SVM is a more mathematical oriented algorithm, so it needs so many parameters. It's very clear even in the first line. So I double tap it. I go about reading each attribute and fine tune my model. C and gamma are two parameters which are of very prominent, which are of good prominence. So this is how you implement a SVM. So you need to download another package called libsvm for you need to run the SVM file. Then Surya, are there any questions till now?
No, I'm just wondering, this is so beautiful. I see this should have been the first screens that we have shown. I work with R, but most of the output that I get from R are not visualized the way it is visualized and shown here. So I think that's the beauty of Weka. We should have shown the participants in the first place. I have just the comment.
Also, if people are familiar with core Java, basic Java, they could do miracles with using Weka library. I will show you.
Tell me one thing, Sriharsha, this, I find it very interesting in this respect. See, R has a package. For example, if you give a data frame to R, and when you say summary, it gives all the statistical inferencing for that data set, right?
Yes.
And then all the exploratory data analysis that we do on the data set is immediately available, right?
Yes.
So it appears to me that Weka has some type of a ready-made data analysis type of thing through this interface here. That to me is a revelation. Yeah, this is fantastic.
So see, this generally does the same thing. If I click the visualize all, I would not need a summary report kind of a thing. This would explain me what my data is with a single frame.
Correct.
This is so powerful if you are going into biological data sets or some other data set wherein you have zero domain knowledge.
Yeah.
you could see correlated attributes here. You could work on attribute analysis here. You could see which all attributes are very significant. All those things with your naked eye. That's very, very important.
And that too pre-packaged. The way I see this is all the the classifiers, the clustering, and all that can be done without tuning. The first off you will be able to do without even programming. So
no, it's 80% of the work is without programming only. So if you are I'll explain this point very clearly. Like, if you are working on attribute tuning or wherein you need so much flexibility in your hand, like you want to work on a 1 TB data set, but your hard disk is, your RAM is of only 4 GB.
Correct.
Therein you apply MapReduce code kind of a thing. Therein you need programming. For a very small data set, I don't suggest people to use a Weka API. I would suggest them to use Weka interface only, which is very beautiful.
Yeah. So Sriharsh and Anish, both of you, this is my comment. Okay, the moment you show me the Java code, okay, that's a turn off. Okay, you should be showing me this. That is misguided.
That I understand. Yeah, that I understand. And trust me, I'll show you one small Java code. You will say, what? Just using this, you could do a lot of things.
Sure.
It's not just. I'll tell you. I'll put it this way. If you want to have a basic understanding, the GUI is sufficient. But if you want to do some real stuff, like solving a Kaggle problem, or taking up a real world problem, and then the GUI is not sufficient. I'll explain you with a simple example. Like, I assume people already know the importance of a famous algorithm called KNN, K nearest neighbor. So what it does is, it would have a similarity metric, which in our case is Euclidean distance. And whenever I give you a test case, it would find the K nearest neighbors of these particular test set and tell me the mode of the class. This is how the KNN works. So my simple point is, here K is equals to 1 and I start my algorithm and it's giving me 95% accuracy. But let's suppose I want to try for K equals to 3, 5, 7, 9, 13 and all those numbers. So you sit on your laptop, click this particular thing, go here, change it to 3, and I click OK, and I click start. This is not how I go about running for all the values of K. And think of it this way: if I want to run the same algorithm for all values of K for 10 different data sets, think of the time I'm gonna waste. Surya, you understand the significance of programming there?
Yeah.
So if I want to do a repetitive task or a menial task, and you need not sit in front of the GUI and
correct.
Even with the you could write a R script for that. But then in Weka, it's more like you write.
Yeah, Sriharsha, what I'm wondering here is whatever we do for a set of data in terms of the exploratory data analysis, you will be able to do the machine learning on the given data set in a flash of a second. I'm not talking about repeated tasks, right? It's kind of a exploratory data analysis that we do. The similar one, we'll be able to do it. We'll be able to do machine learning on small data sets just to see how things are happening. I do understand.
Let's say, like Surya. Yeah, I'll put it in a different way.
Yeah.
I want to run. I'm given a biological data set. I have many biological data sets available in IIIT also.
Yeah.
So if someone asks me like which particular model is good, let's say this is the simplest question which any practical person would ask.
Sure.
So of all the 10 standard algorithms, tell me which algorithm is good and tell me what parameters to use. Let's face it this way, this simple question. So somehow I'll tell that KNN is good, but for KNN itself I have many parameters like K equals to 1, 2 and all those things, or I could try multiple distances. Like if it's not just Euclidean, if people are familiar with basic data science, there are a lot of distance metrics available, and the distance metric is specific to the domain generally. So Minkowski and all those things are the different. So if you are limiting yourself to the GUI, if you are limiting yourself to a very limited set of possibilities, or
Sure.
you are wasting so much time.
Yep. I do understand that. Yeah.
So for basic understanding of the data, the GUI
Correct.
is good.
Correct.
But so now I'll show you the same thing, and I'll just take 2 minutes to write the code and show you how it could be done very easily. Generally, this is how my working system, like, 1 second. So this is the software environment. I generally use an intelligent IDE. It could be Eclipse or IntelliJ, both are open source. Then I use Weka jar. So I'll just start one simple project for you to understand how easy it is to use Weka in Java language. I'm assuming very basic coding. It's not like you should be a pro programmer kind of a thing. So I create a new project. So this is the IDE I use. This is IntelliJ IDE. You could use Eclipse or any IDE which you are comfortable with. The very first thing to do is add a jar file. If you are familiar with Apache Common IOs or something like that, it's adding the jar file is very simple step to do. So I have a Weka jar file which is available from the Weka installation which I get. This is weka.jar file. I add this particular thing. Then I should have data beforehand, right? So I'd have the iris data set. So these are the jar files. Like, if people are very good into coding or very much interested, they could download the Weka source jar also, which would show you the code of how the algorithm is implemented, underlying algorithm is implemented. So this is the data set I have. A conversion of CS, you get most of the data in ARC files, or if you get a CSV file, you have many applications online which will convert them into ARC file. It's very simple, and it's a standard format of seeing the data. So I create a folder which I generally call it as IO, but it's data folder. Like, I have the data in it, in that particular thing. So for people who are like slightly programming oriented, this is for them. So I have my data here. I'm using IDE. I've put in my weka.jar file. Now in the source thing, I create a new Java class. I would tell, like, I would say KNN algorithm. So in the main, it's basic Java here again. So I give them the string file name. So this is the file name, and in Weka everything, it's like the entire data set is treated as instances. This is the standard vocabulary which they follow. We call it tuples in data set, instances in here in Weka. I guess it's data frames in R if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, so if it's, you don't need to remember anything. So I am typing instances. I just know that it is instances. So I type instance, my intelligent IDE would show me all the things. So from the weka.core package, I'm using the instances thing, which is very simple. I would rename this as data. I would call this as data. 1 second. So this is how you start the program. I'll show you the in respect to time. I'll show you in a very simple way. Yeah, this I wrote it just now, like 5 minutes before I started this presentation. So in the open file, I have this string format. I would use a buffer reader. This is a general common Java thing. Like in Python, you would say with open file name as fin : and you start going about things. In Java, you use a buffer reader, and I give my buffer reader, and I use the Weka jar file. I get the instances in the data object. So now I show. So I'm using iris data, which I'm putting here, and then I'm running the load data thing, and I'm just seeing the basic statistics of the data. This is what I'm doing, and nothing more from this particular code. I'll ship this code also. I'll email this code also. So I am running this particular thing. So see, the same thing we get in a very different format here. I have 5 attributes, A1 to A4. These are all of numeric and one is of nominal type. Nominal is categorical in Veka perspective. And number of missing values, number of unique things, number of distinct values, number of classes I have, which is 3. This is from the Veka GUI only, but from a code perspective. So let's say as a black box, I'm doing something. So now to do the same thing, I'll replace it with a different dataset file. So I could run a for loop to run the same system multiple times. Surya, you understand the significance of why you need to code in real world projects?
Yeah. See.
So let's say for, yeah. Go ahead, Surya.
Yeah. Actually, Sriharsha, we are running a little low on time. So what I would like us to do, this is very interesting, and I got drawn onto it. And what would benefit the community at large is we run a tutorial on Veka. I think, that will be great if you can do that. I will get you a place where we will be able to do it. Okay?
So we could discuss, yeah.
Yeah, I think there is just too much material that we can showcase here, and it will be much more beneficial if we can do a 4-hour tutorial or something like that.
Sure, definitely. I'll just close in 2 minutes. I'll not take more than 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, this is amazing. To me, it is really fascinating.
So for people who want to pursue or interested in data science, like this is what I suggest. Taking a course in machine learning by Andrew Ng and Yasir Abu Mustafa. They present things in a very, very naive way, and they would need some mathematical background, but people who are not mathematically oriented can skip it. But in India, people are good with mathematics, basic probability, base and all those things. So there are a lot of courses available in Coursera, EDX and Udacity. So there are around 200-250 algorithms that are implemented in Veka, and you understand the basic framework, you could use all the algorithms in like one simple step. Generally, people have few issues with heap size setting. That would be the first issue if they are trying to load a very big file. Don't worry, Google about the problem, you will get it. And you need API for flexibility. So for beginners, my suggestion would be complete at least one mock course, massive online course. And for people who are intermediate in data science kind of a thing, they could take up few Kaggle challenges, form a meetup, discuss on the Kaggle problem, which is very, very real world, and go through the forums in Kaggle. You will understand a lot of, you will get a different perspective on how data is visualized by different people around the world. And like people pointed out, NIME is another thing, MOVA is another thing, RapidMiner, Elki. Veka is more supervised learning kind of a thing, but Elki is more focused on clustering algorithms. So if people are interested, we could do a workshop, or we could go on all the other features Veka is presenting. This would end my presentation, Surya.
Yeah. Hey, great, Sriharsha. I wish I could have given you more time. So in order to compensate for it, what I will do is I will set up another meetup. It will not be a meetup, it will be a tutorial. I think there are a lot of things I would like to know about Veka myself. So, let me think through this, and then I will publish another, another meetup very soon. Okay. And however, there are a couple of questions from Kiran Vennela. Okay.
Sure.
I wonder if you can answer these real quickly. The current analysis is similar to SAS E-miner. Okay. Can the presenter provide any insights on Veka versus SAS E-miner? Have you ever seen SAS E-miner, Sriharsha?
Actually, I've approached SAS people also, but SAS is very costly and Veka is open source. That's the first thing I would suggest.
Okay.
It's like SAS license would be around 3 to 4 lakhs per academic license.
Okay.
And this same quality of code and even better quality of code is available in Veka. That's a quick answer I could give.
Okay. Great. And this is from Kiran as well. He says, project management question, business analyst versus data analyst, leveraging the statistical tools. Okay. In enterprise projects, it is presumed the statistical tools R and Veka are leveraged by technical specialists, and actual inputs on the hypothesis are to be driven by business analysts. Is this a correct assumption? Yeah, I would say, Sri Harsha may not be able to answer it. Yeah, that is
No,
true.
I would tell it this way, like business analyst could be a domain person in my data.
Correct.
People who explain about the data and their view of what they want.
Correct.
And the technical person would be the one who would provide better insights or insights which match to the problem.
Correct. Actually, I would dwell on this in my presentation, which I think, I will get less than 10 minutes in order to do my presentation. So,
Okay.
what happens nowadays is the roles are getting increasingly gray areas, right? There is no longer going to be, the walls constructed around data analysis or business analysis. People are expected to know, various areas and become more polyglot in their approach. Okay, so I think things are going to change. There are now the walls are going to be broken.
Yes.
Yeah. What else? Please explain the testing methodology for data mining and predictive projects involving statistics when massive data is involved. You have any inkling as to how to answer this question?
Actually, we have a theory in machine learning which would, it's called theory of machine learning, which would talk about building generalized models, which would tell you about cross-validation sets, significance of cross-validation, building robust models. But that would take so much time for me to answer.
Okay, so
all
yeah.
that could be done in Veka.
Okay, so what we would do is the question set is quite broad. And, there is a lot to explore here in Veka, and I would like us to set up a tutorial, a one-day tutorial or something. That's what we'll have to plan, Harsha.
Sure, definitely. And
Yeah.
this time we could take up, if people are having some basic understanding of Java, we could take up a real Kaggle problem. And
Yeah.
from Hyderabad data science group, we could submit a real world problem and get good. We could even win prize money there.
Yeah, we will think about something like that. I think, I am excited with what I've seen here today.
Yeah. So people are asking about the PPTs and all those things. We'll put everything on the group, HDSC group.
Yeah, Leela says he wants to continue with your session. He doesn't want my session. Okay. But anyway, we are short on time. What we would do is, even in 10 minutes, I will not be able to do good justice to what I would like to cover. But I would like to still go ahead with my session. Yeah. And
Leela could take down my number and we could have a Veka session.
Yeah, I think that is very kind of you, Sri Harsha. The thing is, in the group that is participating in this session, my assumption is there are different levels of proficiency of the people. Okay, so
Yes,
setting up something in Veka, very easy to use, easy to understand, a general machine learning techniques with simple data sets, right? Without getting into customization and handling data sets and using a lot of programming. I think that will be great. Okay. And some people are asking for your email address and mobile numbers, which I will publish it to the entire group. Okay.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. So,
can you give me
for
back the
people who
control?
want to,
Yeah, tell me.
tell me how to give back the control.
How do I get back the control? I don't know.
Yeah, I know it. I've got through it. Yeah, don't. 1 second.
Yeah, make me the
Organizer. Yes, I'll do it.
organizer.
So this is my first webinar. If I made any mistakes, please kindly forgive me.
I think, Sri Harsha, we appreciate your time, and I thank you very, very much. And Anish, thanks for thinking about this idea in the first place.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm making you the presenter then. The control is over
Thank
you.
you. Yep. Okay. Okay. Thanks, all the participants. It's been I am really excited with what I have seen with Vika, and I have but 5 minutes for my presentation. I have a hard stop at 11:30, so I will not be able to discuss a whole lot. So I'll set up another webinar next week, just to go through what I had in my mind and what I would like to share with you. What happened is there are a lot of people who come back to me and asking me for how do I go ahead and do the real life projects, okay, in data mining and data science. What I wanted to do is to basically give you an idea as to what this data science process looks like. How do we apply data science in business? What is CRISP DM methodology? That is the basis for doing any analytics type of projects, right? And then start thinking about how do we do the basic modeling, right? That is what I wanted you to do, right? And what are some of the methods and tools and techniques and general patterns that we can apply to business situations? That is the second unit that I wanted to cover, and basically talk about the real life projects, generally taking into consideration the various levels of proficiency people have and where they can start. Okay, and what I will do in the next 5 minutes is I will skip the first two portions, which I will revisit sometime next week. But in terms of the real life projects and where it can give the best value for our time is to deal with the section 3. I'm skimming through a lot of this material. Okay, I would like us to basically do a thought lab. Sriharsha, are you there? I'm trying to unmute.
Data analysis.
Guys, please mute your speakers. Okay, simply put, okay, we have a problem saying that in cricket, predict the total score of a team in a one-day international match, yeah, at a specific venue. Okay, the problem statement is this: how do we do a primitive modeling of this? Okay, so what we could do is take the average of all the players who is playing in that match, correct? And then predict the score. Correct? That is one model. What would be a little better prediction for that model? So what we can probably do is take the scores of average scores of all the players at that venue and then calculate the score. Correct? And what is a little more sophistication that we can use? We can
Muted. Unmuted. Muted. Unmuted.
Oh my God. Can people hear me? Oh my God. Oh my God. Looks like I lost people. Okay, so let me continue.
Surya, I can hear you. It's fine now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think looks like you have muted me. Okay, so
it's a mistake, sorry.
the modeling prediction, the modeling changes as the sophistication grow, but the data science problems generally deal with you know, very not so certain and deterministic problems. The problems such as you know, very uncharacteristic, very probabilistic problems like predicting cricket scores or predicting the stock market, right? These are generally falls under you know, not so deterministic type of situations, right? So as we keep increasing the sophistication, for example, in one-day cricket, there is always a projection that is shown, right? That is to pick our interest, right? How many of you have seen a recent thing called WASP score? I cannot see. How many heard about WASP score? You can say, you can type it in the chat. So what is happening nowadays in cricket? There is something called WASP. Okay, winning and score predictor.
Okay.
Okay, in cricket, you will see the WASP win score here. Are you able to see the screen? Or you can Google it. It happened recently. Okay, so the basis for WASP is something called you know, I will also share this document with you guys, or you can Google it. So this is a data science project taking into consideration the cricket scores. It will make an interesting reading. You can go through this and read it. I will also share it with you. Okay. So this is a real life you know, situation where data science is applied, right? And there are eclectic techniques that are used in order to predict the score and winning chances for a team. So let me get into something which will interest us, right? So you know, we have a set of people who are novices, who have intermediate type of knowledge, who are self-sufficient, who have little knowledge, and then they can basically go through, they can explore, they can find out you know, what are various resources, and then find out what tools and techniques to do in order to basically be self-sufficient, right? And then you have proficient. That means people who knows most of the 80% of the, no, 20% of the techniques and tools that are really required in order to do data science projects on their own. And then we have expert level people. Most of the people you know, at you know, who have worked 5 or 6 years in various data mining, they belong to the expert level category. Okay, so the way they have to start, right? For the novices, they keep asking me where to start. The best ways to start are the tutorials that are available on the internet, the various blog sites. There are GitHub sites. There are public data sets that are available, right? And that's where they will have to start. The best approach for the novices to do is, shamelessly cut and paste, follow, copy, and practice. That's what I recommend that they do, right? And for the people who have already done that, what they can do is they can take the tutorial code as it is, you extend the functionality, you add the new features, right? And then contribute to the enhancements of the tutorials that are already there. If there is a publicly available, if it's a GitHub type of a thing, if it's an open source, just contribute to them, right? And then the self-sufficient ones, right? For example, if something is done in R, try to do it in Weka, or try to do it in Python, or try to do it in some other platform, right? Or KNIME or something like that. For the ones who are proficient, right, you customize what you have done, you generalize, if there is a customized solution, you package it into a solution, you create a package in, a project in GitHub, and you write your own blogs, right? For an expert, you create a tutorial for the entire world to use, right? That's how you develop your skills and then project yourself as a expert. Hello.
Yeah, Surya, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it is giving me a lot of trouble.
What happened?
Yeah, my audience view, it keeps refreshing and everything keeps refreshing because of the time that I have set. Anyway, so in order to do this, the resources that are available, right? One of the things that people ask me is, for example, if I want to deal with where do I get the data sets, right? So some of the data sets that I can show you, or if you go to KD Nuggets, right? kdnuggets.com, datasets, index, datasets for data mining and data science. Okay, you see a plethora of datasets here. You find it in Amazon, you find it in BigML, BioSA, you name it. There is a hell of a lot of datasets that are available here. Okay, and machine learning repository, these datasets are validated. These are used by a lot of researchers. Okay, and if you see what type of analysis can be done, the tasks are also given here on the left hand side. For example, you go to classification type of, you see all these data sets available for classification. Okay, when learning about classification, you can take any of these data sets and work on them. Similarly, you can go to regression, you will find data sets that are amenable for regression. Right? And you also have the Stanford Large Network Dataset Collection, right? Where you will see datasets from Twitter, datasets from email, and all that. Okay. I can share all these datasets. And Harsha has briefly mentioned about MOOCs, right? So another good resource that you can find is in Active Steps. So they have something called resources here, okay, where they have put in a lot of resources on statistics. They have, all the books. These are all mostly free, and the courses, right? We are talking about Coursera ones. There is Khan Academy Statistics, right? And a lot of free books on machine learning and algorithm. All these are available here. And data management, visualization, large scale computation. Fantastic array of resources. And then you go here. Right? See, all these are available. Okay.
Surya, I would
And
suggest
then,
you to first,
yeah.
So I would suggest people to first start working with the small data and only then go for tutorials.
Correct. So yeah, that's what I mentioned here, right? At a novice level, correct? There are a lot of data sets. There are a lot of tutorials that are available, correct? And most of them are free. So they can start here, and without even asking for any help, they can extend the functionality and add features and stuff like that. There is a lot of work that can be done, provided you have the what you call will and determination to do it. Okay, so this is where I will end. I think what I wanted to cover is a lot more than what I have shown. But quickly, what I can probably do is I need to stop actually at 12 o'clock. So what I can do is I will set up another discussion just on trying to do the data science projects. Okay, I'll set it up really soon. In the meantime, if you have any questions, if you can ask me questions, I will try to answer in the next 3 months, in the 3 minutes.
Surya, I have a comment.
Yeah.
So whatever data sets you showed are interesting, but how about setting the context for those data sets? Without context, all the data sets which are available on internet seem to be like social media data sets to me.
Okay.
And maybe we should set the context before running hackathons and further presentations on data science for problem solving.
Yeah, that's true. To give you a brief idea and get your brain cells going, let me show you something called okay, there is a challenge which was issued some time ago by Orange Corporation, okay, in Ivory Coast. I would like people to basically go through this site, okay, and explore this site. Okay, the base data set that they have is they have given a mobile data set to people. Okay, they have it is like 10 or 20 column data set. The CDR data set is what given to people. Okay, and they have asked the world to come up with what can be done using those data sets.
Yeah, so probably we should put
Hold
all
on.
this in the presentation.
Anish, hold on just a second. Yeah, I don't have enough time. That's why I'm rushing. Okay.
Okay.
This document is not publicly available now, which I will be sharing with the rest of the group. Okay, mobile phone data for development, analysis on mobile phone data sets. So it is one single data set, and look at how many projects can be done just using that data set. Okay, there are 72 projects that were executed using this data set, right from social and economic development to data mining and mobility and transport, right, and to health, using the same data set, same base data set, but if you go through this document is 850 pages. Okay. You will see how the data is used. Okay. So what I will do is I will upload this document into HDSG site, right? People will have to read this in order to get the context. It is called D4D challenge, right? They will have to basically look at everything that is available. See, you will find World Bank data, you will find US Census data, you will also have CIA data. Okay? Center for International Development data, right? All this data you need it available in order to do projects like D4D. Any questions at that time? At this time? Can somebody type? Okay, let me see what questions we've got. Okay, Sneh Kumar is asking, can you guide where to get dataset from Cricket? Okay, the dataset is gotten from cricketinfo.com. Okay, and basically what they do is they scrape all the data, make it amenable. When you read that document on the Cricket, hold on, I will show you. On the predict, okay, Control F, okay, they have scraped this data from ESPN dataset. Okay. So what is the next question? No questions. Can we wrap up? Yeah, we are wrapping it up. How can one do freelancing on data science? So there is this Kaggle competition site where you will be able to participate in a lot of paid projects, and there is also a website called Elance where data science projects are projected and you will be able to participate. Okay, so Leela Krishna is asking, is the hackathon going to be on the D4D data? No, the hackathon is going to be on the data sets that are available from Government of Andhra Pradesh, and we are still working out on what the data sets are going to be. Okay. Prashant asks another question. I am really interested in participating in Kaggle competition. Can we fix something from our group to crack one competition together? I think this is a question for Sri Harsha.
Yes, Sri, I am very, very interested in doing something real world.
Okay. So I think what I will have to do is I will have to send out a mail to rest of the data science group and see who is proficient in data science, who can assist you, Sri Harsha. Okay?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking for people experienced in Hadoop or parallel programming.
Okay.
That we could discuss over. Yeah.
Okay, so I will send out a note to the data science group and see if somebody can hook up with you. Okay?
Sure, sure.
Hi Surya, where to get data sets for TV set box data? I am not really sure. This is a question asked by Mallikarjun. I am not really sure, but I can find out. Okay. So basically he is asking for TRP ratings and stuff like that.
Actually, Surya, like what we do in IIIT is it could be useful. Like in the web page, we write Python scripts and we get the data ourselves.
Correct.
So any data, any web page, if you find web page, then you have data in simple terms.
Okay, great, fantastic. So what is the way to do it, Sri Harsha? Web scraping?
web scraping is there is thing in Python. You have already very good algorithms and libraries available. So if you are familiar with Python and if you could spend one day, then it's very simple to get data from web pages.
Okay.
If people are interested, we could do a seminar or webinar on that also.
I think that's an action item you will have to add, you know, to your action items.
Sure, definitely. I can do that. That's very simple.
Sriharsha, you know, the more you speak, the more trouble you are going to be in.
No, I enjoy data science. That I told you already.
Okay. And Prashant Karthik, he mentions that I have experience in Hadoop and parallel programming. I am in. So, Sriharsha, I think you need to connect with Prashant.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, just make note of these points. Mohan Krishna Katta API. Okay, it's called web crawling. Kiran Venala is saying. So, you know, if it helps if Kiran can help Sriharsha set up either a webinar or a, you know, small meetup on web crawling.
Surya, we could do this. Like actually, Cricinfo, it's like hardly it would take 20 minutes to write the Python code.
Okay.
We could start with that in the next Veka session if we plan anything like that.
You know, it is up to you. See, I can only set up the group. You know, you guys will have to come in and contribute and then keep doing the webinars. I have no problem at all. I just organize this, right?
Sure.
So it's completely open to, you know, the community to propose and do their own webinars. There is no stopping. So with this, I think I end the sessions. If you have any comments, please feel free to drop me an email. Yeah, and certainly the community interest takes precedence. I would like community to collectively learn from each other and contribute to the body of knowledge that we are creating. Thank you very much, guys, and
Thank you, Surya.
Sure.
Thanks for the time.
Yeah, drop me an email with your comments, suggestions, feedback, and contribution. I'll be glad to set up webinars and meetups actively. Thank you very much.
The organ